Hey everyone, welcome to Catalyst Energies. My name is Dee. Thank you for joining me. I am so grateful that you're here. This is your daily Catalyst Astrology for July 21st, 2020. And we are post new moon now. Our sun is at the last degrees of Cancer. And we're going to talk about the Sabian symbol for that today because it seems to fit very well with the political, social, economic climate of the day, especially in the good old USA. And our moon is just moving swiftly through Leo. So we are getting an emotional trailer, right? An emotional peek at how this Leo season is going to play itself out in the expression of our collective consciousness, which is the sun. So the moon, or excuse me, the sun is moving into Leo tomorrow. So the moon today is really giving, like I said, going to give us this emotional, intuitive sense of how this is going to play out over the next month. And August is going to be really intense, that's for sure. So in the meantime, the moon is going to be making trines to the Aries energy, squaring Uranus and Taurus, sextile, right? A 60-degree angle with Venus in Gemini, which, by the way, is at the degree of the sun at the very first eclipse we had on June 5th. So that full moon lunar eclipse where the sun was in Gemini and the moon was in Sagittarius. Now this is where Venus is at the degree that the sun was at. And she has moved from the first half of Gemini, which is the discovery period of the realm of ideas and thoughts and communicating it back and forth, the movement of it. Now she's moved to the exteriorization process where it's being expressed and put out there and worked with as well. It's not so much communicating it and exteriorizing it through communication, but it's also about experiencing the dynamic that comes with polarity that Gemini represents. Now, this full moon, whatever was going on there, is here's one of those ripple effects, and it's coming through Venus, who is the goddess of love. She is the ruler of Taurus, and she's the ruler of Libra. So it's about what we value, what bringing value to this process as well, and making it very real and making it very sensual and bring it to our actual senses and physical reality, and also to our relationships. She does rule Libra, which is about the balance of relationships, the fairness and justice, because she wants things to be balanced. She wants them to be harmonious, and she wants beauty, right? This is sacred geometry and symmetry. Venus does not like things being out of balance because they're not beautiful and symmetrical. So she is at this point now from that first lunar eclipse. And so where the sun was at that moment, right, that was shining the light on the moon, although the moon was shadowed by the earth, now we're feeling it in a very real way, and how it impacts what we actually value in life. Because at the time of the eclipse, where the sun was, it was just the expression of our consciousness, of our collective consciousness. Now it's very real, and it's very real what feels good about it and what doesn't feel good about it. So that's something to keep in mind, especially because the moon is going to have that sextile, that 60-degree harmonious aspect that needs some sort of participation in order to get the most out of it. The moon is also going to trine, like I said, Chiron and Mars in Aries, and we'll talk about that. The big transit too as well is that Mercury is going to square Chiron in Aries today, and Mercury is in Cancer. And we have been going back and forth with Mercury, especially the realm of the mind, the thoughts, the ideas, the communications, the actual travel. And when we're talking about Cancer, we're talking about the home, we're talking about the family, we're talking about where our personalities are solidified, because we're talking about where we feel powerful as individuals. Where is the root to our, the root chord to the core of who we are. And this is with Mercury, these Mercury transits right now, especially through Cancer, are really getting us, they're really shaping our mind and our ability to hold space for ourselves emotionally within the realm of the mind, within the realm of communication, and the ability to take in data and hold data, and being able to interact with this energy without having it pull us off of our center, right? The magician is Mercury. Mercury is the magician. And so being able to utilize the logos, the power of the mind, the swiftness of the communication and the travel, while at the same time being contained and being rooted in a sense of safety and belonging. And this degree, 10 degrees, both of them, where Aries, Chiron and Aries, and Mercury in Cancer, 10 degrees, there's a teacher element here. It's teaching us something. Now, the square is going to provide a lot of conflict because Mercury, there's a teaching element and a craftsmanship about shaping our mind to be the highest version of this diamond, right? This is the diamond being cut into form, this 10 degrees of Cancer. And the difficulty appears to be this process in and of itself is very difficult, right? Because a diamond is so hard that it needs an incredible amount of pressure and heat in order to make change to the physical structure. So it's an arduous process. It is not easy. And there is some sort of craftsman, there's some sort of expert in this process that is here helping us with it, right? Now, the square to Chiron in Aries, again, it's a teacher taking old images and providing the symbolism about that. And because Chiron is retrograde, right, it is very obvious to us. It is unavoidable to us. It is something we can't not notice in terms of being retrograde. And it's about the woundedness, the victimization that we have of just existing, being in direct conflict with our minds being shaped into this incredibly powerful diamond core template of who we are. There's no resolving this today, and it's important that we understand that so that we can get the most out of the conflict. Because Chiron and Aries, if especially in retrograde, it is not an easy position to be in, to see the symbolic representation of all of these images that are triggering us constantly, triggering our deep wounding of our essential selfhood. If we can work with that and see the symbolic representation and not fall into identifying with the images, then this square, even though it's really difficult and really potentially very painful to go through, we can really get something more out of it. But if we're not working well with it and we keep like falling into this trap with Chiron, then this is going to be even more painful because there's no resolving this, right? This is T-bone no matter what. And especially with our minds in Cancer. So just keep this in mind as we roll through today. So the moon moving through Leo. Leo is the home territory of the sun. It is the royal zodiac sign. It is about sovereignty. It is about full self-expression. Leo is also about children because it's about youthfulness and innocence, because there is a childlike quality to fully expressing who you are. Leo is combustion and release of creative energy. The sun is the center of our solar system. It provides everything and it fully expresses itself no matter what. And so this is where the Leo energy comes in with this full self-expression of the individual consciousness, right? We're still talking about the individualized consciousness from Aries to Virgo, right? So the moon is giving each of us an emotional experience of what that is, about how do we express ourselves individually, our individual consciousness to its fullest. You know, how are we the diva of our own experience? And it's emotional, so, and it's intuitive, and we may not be fully expressing it outward, but we are feeling that combustion within us, and maybe even having a subconscious experience of it, like in the dream state. The dreams have been incredible, and the Schumann just was blasting over the weekend so much, and is starting to calm down again. So the dreams have been very intense. We are definitely being like, you know, there's a modulation effect here of getting us up to speed energetically, and that was a big one. And the new moon, it was just, people were just going bonkers. They really were. In my personal life, you just watched it on social media, and in a lot of ways it was good, because it was giving that moment of seeing how we are each going to dig very deeply into the core of who we are and our intuition in order to make decisions about where we stand. And with Mercury here, it's also allowing the mindset and the magician part of us to also be very firmly rooted in where we belong and where we feel safe, in order to allow Mercury to do its, do its best work, which is to be the magician and to take in the empirical data. So so the moon trining the Aries energy today. And there's such a beautiful moment of rejuvenation here with early degrees of Leo. There is combustion, but it's also combustion in the most beautiful, like, creative way. And we can really use that. We don't even have to use it. It's just completely trine, it's just completely supporting Chiron and Mars in Aries, which is just dealing with the self. Leo and Aries are both very much connected to the ego, and Aries is about the ego as the seed point of our entire personality, and Leo is about the combustion, the full expression of that ego as well. And so this could go either way depending on how we're working with these energies. It could very well just be a total ego party, right? With the moon in Leo and trying to Mars and Chiron in Aries, like just totally identifying with the ego and the expression of the ego, and not really, if we're not working with if we're not working with Mercury in Cancer today, in square to the Chiron and Aries, this is a total ego party, right? Just like total, like, blah, combustion of just like, I am right, and I am completely identified with that, with being right, and Mars is just going to charge forward with it. Now, there is a square to Uranus in Taurus as well, at 11 degrees of Leo and 11 degrees of Taurus. And so this, again, there's another conflict here, because Uranus in Taurus is the revolutionary change in the physical reality, and the fact that the awakening process is really rooted to how we're cultivating our physical reality and our material reality, and that it's the long game. I mean, I've been talking about that for a minute, especially as Jupiter is getting closer to the sextile with Neptune. It's about the long game with all of us, right? And this can really, really support that. And it's getting closer and closer and closer. So just keep that in mind. But the square here, once we start getting into the second decan of Leo, the combustion is getting stronger, right? It is getting more powerful, and we want to express that sense of individuality and our ego consciousness. And so Uranus is like, well, that's fine. But again, I'm bringing you back to the fact that your awakening process has to do with the way you're cultivating your physical reality, not so much about how you emotionally express your ego. So keep that in mind as well. Now, the sextile to Venus in Gemini, Venus is now exteriorizing this Gemini process. She is working with the dialectic very actively, now that she's discovered a lot of information and taking in all this data. Now she is working with it on the outside, working with it. And so there is a lot of, there's a lot of conflict with that. That's part of the process, but there's also a lot of the mind getting stronger. And that also, as the moon comes into the second decan, the second half of Leo, that's release. So the first half is the combustion, and then the release is the second half. And sextile to Venus, which is exteriorizing, it is definitely an outward in terms of the mind and in terms of our creative self-expression. And you're talking about the two divine feminine aspects in the zodiac. We have Venus and we have the moon. And so Venus is getting stronger in the mind and in her ability to work with the dialectic. And this can really help. I don't want to say, I don't want to say it will help temper necessarily the moon in Leo, but it will certainly give, let's see here. I want to read the Sabian symbol because it's important. 17 degrees. Oh, a volunteer church choir singing religious hymns. And it's the feeling of togetherness, which unites people in their dedication to a collective ideal. Okay, so it's each person participating as an individual in a collective process in order to in a collective process that is dedication to this collective ideal. So emotionally, we want to come out and sing, right? And we can really direct this to a way, we can really direct this desire to participate in this process, our expression in a collective situation, if we are using where Venus is at in terms of maturing our thinking, right? She sees the value in maturing her thinking. And from that can take that energy, apply it to this emotional experience of wanting to be expressing ourselves for this collective ideal and using it for good rather than just like a release of our ego in a really unhealthy and narcissistic way. You know, narcissism really falls under the Leo aspect as well. And that's something that we have to keep in mind because again, Leo is very much about the self. And so narcissism in a very, very simplistic way is just being enamored with yourself and nothing else. And so there's possibility and potential for that Leo energy to be about the collective, but it's still about individual expression. And so Venus, again, she is seeing the value in becoming a more mature thinker as a result of working with the dialectic, and that can really support in a positive way this emotional experience of wanting to express ourselves for a collective ideal. So this is really, really nice today. And tomorrow, when the moon moves into the later stages, right? So here's the sun in the first degree of Leo, and then the moon is quincunxing all of the Capricorn energy, right? That is not an easy place to be. That is a total inconjunct. And also we'll have quincunxed Neptune and Pisces, which is all about just surrendering to the flow of this situation and trusting the cycle that is unfolding. So this is the Daily Catalyst for today, July 21st. 2020. Thank you for joining me. Everything you need is in the description box below. Reach out if you're interested in a reading. I will be off for a couple of weeks with personal readings starting Friday. So if you want a reading for mid-August, now's the time to reach out and get it on the schedule. And August is, oh boy, August is going to be crazy. I will still be doing dailies and I'll still be like on Facebook and on YouTube. So I'll still be showing up, producing content to keep us all on the same trajectory, whatever that is. But readings, I'm going to be off for a couple weeks in order to make some transitions. So take care of yourselves. Please take care of yourselves. Take care of your minds, your bodies, your souls. Drink plenty of water. Get outside. Limit your screen time if you can. And I'll see you on the next video. Take care of yourselves.